Why, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Oh Shoot. I'm your host, Cassidy Lynne, and today we are talking about something that is very, very close to my heart. And by very close to my heart, I mean kind of far away from my heart, because today we're talking about photography problems and just like general problems that photographers have that a lot of other people wouldn't understand. So as I was writing the content for this, I just was thinking like about every single situation that I've come across where either something happens with a client or it's just like not the ideal situation. And I just wrote all of them down. I have a lot of them, but I feel like you guys are really going to relate with a lot of these. I really do want my content on this podcast to be very educational, but today I just thought that we could go back to home base and just start where we're all familiar, and that's with our uncomfortable and problematic moments of being photographers. So we are just gonna jump right into it. So the first thing that I wrote down that every single person who has shot a wedding understands is the Uncle Joe of a wedding. So if you have not shot a wedding before, you might not get this, but maybe you've heard of Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe is going to be that family member or that person invited to the wedding who has like a 20-year-old camera, has it with them probably, and is going to come up to you and try to talk to you about your camera. Typically, the phrases that I hear from Uncle Joe's are about how photographers nowadays have it really easy because we have digital files and we don't have to develop film anymore. They'll usually try to talk to you about your lenses, and then they'll start to tell you about how they got into photography back in 1920, you know? It's like one of those things. So Uncle Joe, he's a nice guy, he is, but sometimes Uncle Joe will have their flash on, which affects our images. Sometimes Uncle Joe will get in your shot. Sometimes Uncle Joe follows you around at a wedding. You can't predict what's going to happen with Uncle Joe. So that is the first problem that I encounter. I feel like it's the most relatable when it comes to weddings. It's just Uncle Joe. So the next problem that a lot of photographers face is getting ghosted. And sometimes this is a little bit of a sensitive subject, but it happens. If someone reaches out and inquires to you, they might not get back to you. They might book with someone else and not tell you. That's getting ghosted, right? And it's not a fun feeling. Especially in photography, I feel like I get ghosted most of the time when people find out about my pricing and they find out how much I charge. That's usually the biggest turnoff for people. So I'm usually getting ghosted right after I send my pricing over because for some reason people think that I charge $2 for a session when I don't. So that's the biggest reason that I get ghosted. As photographers, it's really hard to not take ghosting personally. Because we're like personal brands, we just really view our work as like a part of who we are. So when someone reaches out and shows interest, but then goes with another photographer or just doesn't get back to you, period, that hurts a little bit. Like I'm not even gonna lie, it hurts me a little bit. So getting ghosted is a real problem. It's a problem in other industries as well. Just a quick little tidbit of education. A great way to avoid getting ghosted is to prep your potential clients on your website so they know kind of what to expect when they reach out. A lot of times, like I said, I get ghosted because of pricing. So a good way to avoid that is by having your website just super jam-packed full of all the info that those people need to know before they reach out. So the chances of them ghosting you are less likely. So with pricing, just prepping those people with starting prices or maybe like average investment prices, that's all going to be a great way to avoid getting ghosted. Okay, so back to photography problems. Another, I guess this is more like a fear that I have, is gear malfunctioning. I am so paranoid that my camera is just going to stop working. in the middle of a shoot, and I'm not going to be able to control it. And I'm sure there are tons of people who have stories of their gear malfunctioning. So specifically, I had a time where, thankfully, it wasn't my camera, it was Charlie's, which, you know, that's also horrible, but like I'm the main shooter, so it wasn't the end of the world. Charlie's shutter in the middle of a wedding like ripped in half, and his camera like wasn't working, so he just couldn't shoot for the rest of the wedding day. Thankfully, we only had like 30 minutes left, so it was like, you know, you wouldn't have even noticed that he wasn't shooting. But that's become like a real fear of mine, is my gear malfunctioning and me not being able to continue shooting during like a high pressure situation. Typically that's a wedding, but honestly, even like a paid session or a proposal, like those are all like high intense situations where your camera really cannot malfunction. So gear malfunctioning, that's a real problem. I face it every day when I go to a session. I'm like, gee, I really hope my shutter doesn't tear in half right now. So the next problem that photographers face, very similar to the last one, is just the fear of an SD card going corrupt. No words can explain the pit in my stomach that fears for this happening. Like literally just the thought of it is like giving me chills. It's horrible. So an SD card going corrupt basically means that all of your files on that SD card cannot be read. You cannot get those photos. You can't access them. You can't see them. So an SD card going corrupt is super just detrimental for, I think that's a word, detrimental. Yes, detrimental for photographers, because all of our work and everything that we did at that session or that wedding shows up on the SD card. And that is the key to the photos going from the camera to the computer. So if that piece doesn't work, it's game over. So a way to avoid this is to always shoot dual cards. So for my Sony A9, I have 2 SD card slots, which means I can shoot on 2 cards simultaneously. If I take a photo, it'll put that raw photo on both SD cards immediately, so I have 2 backups. That's great. That's super awesome. So if I have one of my cards go corrupt, at least I have a backup, but still like this fear is instilled within me that something could happen to both of those cards at the same time. And then I truly am just like screwed. Like I should just quit, you know? It's just one of those things. I'm just going to quit. So, photographer problem number 4. A lot of people, this might get a little spicy here. A lot of photographers say, ooh, community over competition. But I would like to disagree that I feel like a lot of photographers view other photographers as competition and not community. Even though they might be in communities of photographers, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, they might, you know, do some competitive things against you to get a client. You know, fair game type of thing. So I really value community. I do understand how there's no avoiding competition because we're all trying to get the same clients, whatever. But there is a certain point where you should view photographers as community and just like people within your field rather than competition, because there's literally so many clients out there. There's so many weddings to shoot, so many sessions. You know, you don't have to view us as competition, people. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that because it's just a real problem that I've been facing lately. So this next one makes me laugh just at the thought of this because I've experienced this too many times. Photographer problem number 5. I think this is 5. You know, I'm going to stop numbering them. So photography problem, the next one is wedding clients who think that they can fit 10 hours worth of events and shots into a 5-hour wedding day. I honestly feel like I need to just leave it at that. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've shot weddings, people who want tons of getting ready photos, all the way to a sparkler exit at the end of the night and think that they can fit all of that into my smallest package. My smallest package is designed for those people who want minimal coverage, but they want, all of those essential moments like the ceremony, the beginning of the reception, bridal portraits in between. That's typically what my 6-hour package can cover, but my 10-hour people are getting the full getting ready, like an hour of getting ready all the way into the end of the reception, which you simply cannot get with 6 hours. Like that's just how time works. Like there's just some time that cannot be stretched. Like I think these people literally think that there are 90 minutes in an hour. Like no. Okay, moving on. So the next problem is photographers gatekeeping their locations. Now, I'm going to do a disclaimer on this because I do understand that there are locations that need to be preserved, especially on the West Coast or those areas where certain locations and areas are being ripped apart by people. So that's bad, and we should preserve them. I totally understand that. When I say gatekeeping locations, I'm thinking specifically for myself, like there's a really cute wall downtown or like a really cute beach or something or, whatever. And I like DM someone, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Where did you shoot this? And they're like, oh, I prefer not to tell you. I get that. Like, I respect that. But at the same time, I'm like, I kind of wish some people would have told me a few locations when I first started because I was shooting at the back of a McDonald's parking lot, which is not ideal. I'm actually kidding. I didn't shoot at the back of a McDonald's parking lot, but you get the idea. Like I was shooting in locations that weren't necessarily the best because I didn't really know where to shoot. And people wouldn't tell me. So if you're a fellow photographer out there and someone reaches out and asks where you took something, maybe you could just give them like a general vicinity, or you could tell them the location, but maybe ask them not to share it, like go and post it on their Instagram story and spread it all around. But kind of think of if you were in their shoes and you just want a good location. So I'm going to leave it there. And like I said, preserve the West Coast people. The end. So next up, we have accidentally bumping your aperture. This is kind of just a fear that I have, but it's happened to me once where, specifically when I was shooting Canon, the front of my camera, the wheel on the front was the aperture control. And I was shooting a family session. I think I wanted my aperture at like f3.2 or something, and I had it there. But then my camera was down at my side, and I literally turned up the aperture to like f20. Like I'm pretty sure my camera went up to f20. And I looked back on the photos afterwards and they were pitch black and I couldn't do anything with them. So in general, I just get afraid that I'm going to bump up my aperture or just like hit a random button on my camera that's going to ruin the photo shoot in some way. So that is a real problem that I feel like we face. These next two are just like personal things that I've noticed. I feel like a problem that we're facing as photographers right now is everyone trying to do like styled shoots and like fake shoots and content days and stuff. I will say I am 100% one of these people. Like I have started doing styled shoots and content days. Like I can't even lie. This is me. But I'm like, okay, I feel like everyone does it. So like if I was a client like looking for someone's work, how do I know if it's real or not? Like, cause there's so many styled shoots. How do I even know? I'm not saying that if you go to a styled shoot and take photos, you're not talented, because obviously you are, but like there's a lot of styled shoots out there. And then kind of to tie into this one a little bit, I feel like everyone and their mother started making reels on Instagram too. Like photographers, like it just kind of started happening. And like, clearly, like I am one of those people. I make reels every day. I'm posting a reel. But I just noticed that almost every single photographer that I follow has started posting reels. Whether or not they're, quality or not is a whole nother topic. But just in general, I feel like reels are like, whoa, like they are blowing up right now. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for exposure. But it's just like all over my feed is reel after reel after reel. And I'm like, okay, I kind of want to see some normal posts, But like this is me kind of talking to myself because I need to work on feed posts too. So moving on to the next problem. This one resonates with me very deeply. Photographing proposals. Proposals are immensely stressful. I think immensely is the right word, but I'm going to switch that word to extremely stressful. I cannot explain to you, like, I don't think I've ever been more stressed than before a proposal. There's just so much that goes into it, and you truly cannot prepare for it. Like, you can't. Like, you have no idea if the person who's proposing is going to be facing the right way. There's just so many circumstances that you can't control. So before a proposal, I'm usually sitting there waiting for the couple. And here's the other thing is if the couple knows you, or like, how do you blend in? That's a whole nother stress level added onto it. Like, just blending in for proposals on its own is stressful. But then the fact that it's a surprise and you have no idea maybe what the lighting is going to look like, or you have no idea how the person who's getting proposed to is going to react. There's a lot that goes into it. And you kind of just have to put one lens on your camera, get your settings, and just send up a little prayer, take the photos, and hope they turn out. That's kind of how I view proposals. Now, if you're a client and you're listening to this and I did your proposal photos, that's not how I felt at all. I'm completely lying. Okay, on to the next problem. So this is like probably more of a serious problem, but I feel like a lot of photographers think that second shooting is kind of below them. This is kind of just like a photographer mindset of like, ooh, I'm like too good. I can't second shoot. I personally love second shooting. The stress that is taken away from second shooting is just like, it's incredible how not stressful second shooting is. I don't know if that made sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say is second shooting it's just like so much better than lead shooting because you don't have the pressure of creating these staple images from a wedding day. You are more like the creative alternative perspective, which is a lot of fun for me. I am a creative person, so I love the creativity aspect of it. So sometimes photographers will not second shoot because, you know, they have too much experience. They're too good or whatever. But honestly, second shooting, is a good way to make money. It's additional money. B, it's a great way to connect with other photographers, kind of establish that community. But C, it's a way to kind of break your route to burnout. Essentially, like, it's your way to express your creativity without the pressure of needing to meet your clients' desires and their shot lists and everything. And for me, that creative outlet is essential for me to be able to continue to be a photographer. I need a little bit of creativity and freedom every once in a while so I can continue to love what I do. So I'm going to hop off that soapbox because, that was a long soapbox. The next problem we're going to cover, I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to this, is managing and keeping up with 30 plus clients at a time. If you're like me, I have 60 active clients in Honeybook right now. That is absolutely insane. And every single one of them, you know, I have to talk over outfits. I have to talk over locations. I have to make sure that there's nothing that they need from me. And then if they need something from me, I have to respond, which I know, responding, that's like, Cassidy, that's not that much work. But like when you have 60 people who are all expecting the same level of customer service from you, that can be a lot to handle. So just the fact that that we as photographers are managing so many clients at one time, I feel like we all just deserve this round of applause for that because it's incredible. We are killing it, guys. So let's move on to the next one. This is just a general thing that I feel like is just a problem. Blogging. Like, what is blogging? Like, I understand that we need to do it for SEO. We need to blog our sessions. We need to blog wordy blogs to show up in the search for our area and stuff. But blogging is hard. Like, there is a lot that goes into it. You need to have your keywords. You have to have like a cover image and you have to post them like at least like once a week. You need to be posting blogs. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot. Like that's like writing an essay for school every week. I feel like I'm in college or high school again, where I'm writing an essay just to write it every single week. Now blogging does pay off. So I'm not going to say it doesn't, but it's just a lot. So if there's one thing that you guys should outsource as photographers, let's start with blogging, because like, why? Just why? So the next problem is just being good as a photographer, but not being good at running a business. When we as photographers take our business full time, we're not just photographing weddings full time. We are our own social media coordinator. We're our own virtual assistant. We're the editor. We're the marketing manager. We do sales and we do bookkeeping. Like all of these different hats that photographers wear. I feel like we're not always necessarily good at them, or we're not always ready for it. So whether you should outsource that stuff or maybe take some courses and learn how to run a business, that's going to help us as photographers. So if you're a photographer out there and you're feeling really overwhelmed about running the business aspect of your photography business and not necessarily doing the photography, but being the business, you're not alone. That's a real thing. And there's ways that you can overcome that. I feel like I should do an episode just on that. And, I'm making a mental note right now because I'm going to do that. So next up is kids during family sessions. If you have done a family session, you understand that kids are on a new level. This new generation, they do not tolerate anything. A, they are way too cool for us. Way too cool. B, they don't care what we're saying. They're probably not listening anyway. And C, they're not going to smile. They're going to do like a little smirk thing. So kids are just like, they're difficult for family sessions. If you're a family photographer out there, I applaud you right now. That's hard stuff. It's hard. And families are a joy. I really love just meeting new families. Kids are so fun. But there are certain kids at sessions who either cry, they won't smile, they won't look at you, they won't cooperate. So truly, probably half of your session ends up being just trying to get the kid to look at you or trying to get them in the right position to take the photo. And then the other half is actually taking photos. So family sessions, they're hard. Kids, it's a whole new level, guys. To add on to that, I think grumpy husbands at family sessions are another photography problem that's just like, whoa, I did not sign up for this. When you're doing like a family session or something and there's like family drama or like people are mad at each other, I just feel like that does not make for good photos. At least I try really hard to make the photos look good, but sometimes it's like, whoa, like the attitude, guys, whoa. There's always grumpy people at family sessions sometimes. It's inevitable. Do your best. Take the photos. You got this. If you're someone listening who might get your family photos done soon, just check everyone's attitudes before you go into photos. Help your photographer out. So to kind of piggyback onto family photos a little bit, family photos at weddings. If you have shot a wedding, you know what I mean. The family photo time is quite crazy. I always try to prep my clients for just the type of environment that might take place during family photos. It's going to be stressful. So I try to tell them, like, give me a list of family members that you want. And, I'll encourage them that they need to make those family members aware that they have family photos after the ceremony. Make them aware, maybe like make their officiant aware that they need to tell family members that they need to come to family photos. But you are constantly going to be facing family members wandering into cocktail hour or wandering to the bar, family members not even knowing that they're supposed to be in family photos. There's always going to be that one family member who tries to add on additional photos that were on the list. Maybe it's like an aunt or a great aunt or someone that just like thinks they have all these combinations that the couple's going to want. Another thing with family photos is just kind of gathering up those people at the wedding and like actually getting them all to look at you at the same time and smile. Like, wow, that sounds so simple, but guys, it's hard. I, during family photos, usually just have some person there to help me. I try to recruit either like a maid of honor or a coordinator or a sister or someone who knows the family, knows names, and can kind of like go around and wrangle people up so I don't have to. But if there's no one there, I'm doing it by myself. And that is truly an interesting show, guys. It's interesting. Next, we're going to talk about being fed at weddings. Now, I have found myself expecting to be fed for lunch, and that doesn't always happen. And that's kind of on me. Like, I shouldn't expect that. So for weddings, I am typically arriving anywhere from 10 to 11 a.m. And I don't get fed lunch. Like, I'm too busy taking photos and I just don't think of it. So if you are shooting weddings, make sure that you come prepared, eating a big breakfast beforehand or bringing snacks just for the rest of the day. Another aspect of not being fed at weddings is also not drinking enough water at weddings. People, drink your water. You are going to pass out during bridal portraits if you don't drink water. You need to make sure you're drinking water. That's all I'm going to say. The next thing that is a problem as photographers is mini sessions. Mini sessions are insanely stressful. They're also not fun because you're doing discounted sessions. And back-to-back discounted sessions too. Like, that is crazy. So I personally haven't had great experiences doing mini sessions in the past. I find that during certain times of the year, it works great, especially in the fall, because people want to use those photos for like Christmas cards and stuff. But mini sessions, like anytime at the beginning of the year, just doesn't work for me. And then, you know, there's busy season in the middle of May to August, so you don't want to do mini sessions during that time. So yeah, mini sessions are just a big struggle. You're discounting yourself. You have to make sure that back to back everything is running smoothly. 10 sessions at 20 minutes apiece, that is crazy. And if one person is late to their session, you are pushing back the entire schedule. So there's just a lot riding on mini sessions, and I'm just not a huge fan. It's a struggle for sure. Next up, we have the fear of formatting an SD card. And I know earlier I said that a corrupt SD card is at the pit of my soul, my biggest fear, but I lied because this right here is my biggest fear. I am in the habit of just formatting my SD cards like when I'm bored. So I have not, though, actually formatted a card where I, needed the photos. But in the past, I have almost formatted a very crucial card that I was still shooting on. And the reason that it's my biggest fear is because formatting an SD card is something that I do. And it's not a camera problem. Like, a corrupt SD card is like a malfunction. But formatting an SD card, like, that's 100% on me. So that is such a big fear of mine that I will triple check the photos on my SD card before I format it, because I'm just terrified that I'm going to get rid of something that I needed. Now, granted, I do have a great, at least I think it's a great backup system for my photos, to where I know that all my photos are backed up at least 4 places. So I'm good to format one card. But I still just get a little bit scared. I don't know. I overthink it and I just doubt myself. Next up, we have always wanting to upgrade your gear every 2 weeks. This is 100% me. I am always looking at my gear and thinking, wow, I wish I had this instead, or this along with the lens that I have. I just recently got an 85mm, the G Master 85mm f1.4. Truly, it is a great lens. But I literally was looking at it at the last wedding that I shot, and I thought to myself, wow, I wish I had another one of these. Like, why? Why am I thinking that? Like, the lens is great. It works great on its own. I guess I want like a backup or something, but I already have an 85 backup, but it's f1.8. So I'm like, oh, I just need another one of these. And I just got that lens like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it's like, we just like can't be content in our gear sometimes as photographers. And it's important to know that your gear is not going to take great photos. It can aid in helping your photos improve quality-wise, but when it comes to the creativity of it, you are the reason that your photos are creative. So let's stop relying on gear so much and constantly wanting to upgrade every 2 minutes. So the next 2 problems that I have, these hit right to the core for me. The first is traveling with camera gear. It is so freaking hard. I don't know if you've traveled with camera gear on a plane or even via car. It's just like, it's a lot. Like when I fly with my camera gear, I find that there is no good way to pack everything. Like I'm either putting all of my gear in one bag and it's breaking my back, or I put stuff in a suitcase, but then I have to check that suitcase. If you fly small flights, you'll understand that like, even though you're bringing a carry-on and it should be able to go in the overhead compartment, sometimes they make you check it anyway because they don't have enough space. And that scares me because I'm like, I'm checking my bag. I could lose everything that's in this bag right now. Another thing that's hard about traveling with camera gear is just like the bag itself. Like I feel like there's no bag that truly fits everything that I want in it while it's still being cute and trendy, but also comfortable. So I don't know. I feel like that's just a big struggle. There's just a lot of stress that comes along with traveling with your gear. The fear of losing it, the fear of it being stolen. Those are all real problems and real fears. So photography problems, guys. Last one. Clients showing up in unfashionable outfits. This is kind of self-explanatory, but I'm going to explain it. Duh. Sometimes clients will show up in outfits that just don't photograph super well. That's not to say that like it's not fashionable, but like some things just don't photograph as well as other things. So maybe neon colors or a really bright pattern, like that's not going to photograph as well as like earthy tones or neutrals. So that's a real struggle. There is a certain point where as photographers, we have to realize that our job is not to take photos for us, but we're taking photos for our clients. So if they show up in a spacesuit, you are being hired to photograph them in a spacesuit. Like, suck it up. It's a spacesuit, sure, but maybe that's what the client likes. Maybe your client likes spacesuits and you just have to go photograph it. That's your job. We're doing our job for our clients and it's not for us. So that's something to remember when someone does come in an unfashionable outfit. It's not necessarily like the best scenario, but at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about your client. So with that being said, those were all of the photography problems that I had for this episode. I hope you guys like listening to this episode of Oh Shoot. This truly, I feel like, encompassed the Oh Shoot aspect of the name because these are seriously things that happen to me and I'm like, oh shoot, like this is actually happening. Like, oh shoot, my client's wearing a spacesuit. Like, what am I supposed to do? So yeah, I feel like this episode truly encompassed that. Stay tuned for more episodes in the future, and thank you guys so much for listening. Expose my mind to clarity. Oh, my spirit shudders. Capture the moment, oh, to keep my sanity. The wisdom rushing in, so much clearer now. Getting a little bit higher. With every step I take, I'm getting good.
getting a little bit better. I'm climbing to the top, never gonna stop. I'm getting good. Oh